Good evening. Good evening. Welcome. My name is Kwabena. I want to share with you today financial factors that can make your business less stressful and succeed faster. Less stressful and succeed faster. Business, they say, is difficult, and sometimes it will take a lot of energy. It will take a lot of determination. It will take a lot of strength. From you, from me, for the business to succeed. But if there are some things, there are some things that if we have them, rightly done and rightly thought out and practice, the stress and the difficulties could be managed and managed well. The kind of business vehicle that you use and the kind of business need that you identify, the kind of passion and the kind of strength that you have, they are very good, but there are other financial factors that we would have to consider and for us to succeed with our business, with our startups. And even if you have been in the business for a while and you would want to re-engineer the business because maybe you are not happy with how things have been and you would want to see some kind of progress. And so when there is much stress with the finances, when there is much stress with the income, you become disturbed. And so there are some businesses that you will have to consider. If you look at our country, there are so many needs in terms of business, so many needs. Almost every sector of our economy needs some kind of business, and needs some kind of proper management or better product or better services. But the fact that you have identified a need in an area that you are passionate about does not mean that you'll be able to build a good business in that. Because you seeing the need is a part of the package. There are other parts that you would have to consider for you to build a business that will give you less stress and possibly that will help you to win faster. Because some people can be in business for years, and they're still struggling. They're still going through almost the same thing that they went through when they started because they did not consider some factors. And if you don't consider these factors, sometimes the difficulties become so intense that you would give up on your dream in trying to build the business. So that's why sometimes you can see somebody who has been doing something and he's done it for years, maybe 20 years, and he's still struggling because the industry that the person may have entered in, he did not consider a lot of those factors. And so my name is Kwabena. I want to share financial factors that can make your business less stressful. If you consider those factors, and maybe it will make you succeed faster. You should know, having identified the business. Maybe it's a construction business that you have identified. Maybe it's a retail that you have identified. Maybe it's you want to set up a microfinance. Maybe you want to start a cocoa farm. There are all kind of businesses that people can start. Or you want to start a mining company. Some people would want to trade in cement, iron rods. They would want to trade in maybe shoes. Whatever business that you want to trade in, there are factors that you would have to consider. Some people would want to go into manufacturing, direct, all kind of things. Some people would want to go into computer programming, software, energy production. Whatever business that you have passion for and you understand, there are technical things that are involved in any kind of business. So if you have the technical understanding, you have what it takes to build that business, still you would want to look at some of these factors, because if you overlook them, you could be in the business for a very long time and you'll still be struggling, and you will say that somebody else is doing you, and it may not be that somebody else was doing you, but you just were not that much aware of some of these factors. So you would want to look at the cash flow. How is the cash going to come into that business, and how is the cash going to go out of that business? Every business that you start, There is a way the money will come in, and there is a way the money is going to go out. And the balance, when you put them together, the money is going out, the money is coming in. When you put them together, is it negative or positive? How quickly do you see the money coming in? Is the money coming in every day, or is the money coming in every month, or the money is coming in every year or every 6 months? Every business and how the money comes in. For instance, if you have a provision shop and you open it, almost every time, I'm sure that somebody else will buy something every day, which means you start to see money every day. If you go and do supply for government, they say that, oh, supply books will pay you, and you went through tender and you won a contract, and nobody knows how you won the contract anyway. And then you went to borrow money if they didn't give you mobilization, and you want to borrow money, and you supplied those books. They will have to take some time before they pay you. Sometimes from the time that you start the process to say, I want to go and tender this, to the time you get the tender and all the things that you have to do, which take money, and then by the time that you have to buy the books and go and supply to them, or make the books and supply, you probably will be in 3, 4, 5 months, or even a year. Then after that, they would have to go and sit down and work all their documents before they give you money. Sometimes it can take a year, which means that that kind of business that you have taken, you are going to get money yearly, and that is a dangerous thing. That's a dangerous business. So you would have to know how the money is going to come to the kind of business that you have started, or you will struggle. You will struggle. And most people who do project-based businesses that are based on project, you have to go through a lot of processes to get the project. You spend a lot of money to get it, and then after that you have to go for money to execute the project. If it's a building project, for instance, it takes a while for you to do all kind of things to get to a stage where somebody will consider giving you money. And after you have even given them the invoice, the certificate for payment, sometimes it takes months, for them to pay you. And so this kind of business, if you are not in the industry, and if you don't have a lot of financial muscle, I don't think it's the kind of business that you would want to start if you just have very little experience and very little money. You would want to consider, because every business and its cash flow, every business and the things that every business and the way the finances are done. So if you want less stress, and you want to possibly, you want to succeed faster than you ever thought, and if they are not looking up figures for you, going for big money to put into a project, whether it's supplies or physical project, will not be some kind of business that you would want to look at as a startup person. I think those kind of businesses are for people who have been in business for a while, and who really, or may have been in the industry for a while, who are a bit more networked and a bit more connected, before you look at some of these businesses. I think that if you can start anything that you can produce and sell quickly, and there is market for it, or if somebody has even produced that one and you can go and buy and sell, it will be a better way to start a business. At least, even if with 100 Ghana, you can start to sell water, or you can start to sell Cerelac. You can open something on your table. Depending on your level, somebody would have money, somebody would just have nothing to start with. And so the business you start, the cash flow is very much important. The way the cash is coming in is everything. Because if you don't take care of that stage, you'll find yourself in a critical position, in a very difficult position, that you may be there for years before you even get out, because it can put you in a bad shape in terms of finances. So the cash flow, the way the money is coming to the business, you have to know. And for me, if you don't have a lot of exposure, a lot of experience, you would want to have the cash coming every day. Every day, the business must see money coming in. In that case, you'll have some kind of comfort. But if you have to go and pump money, and it takes 6 months before they ever start to think of paying you money, it will be difficult for you to stay there, because then there'll be stress. And that's why if you look at these kind of businesses where you have to, project kind of businesses like construction, like engineering companies, real estate, companies like that, mining companies, where you need a lot of capital injection at the initial stage, you see that most people don't succeed in that kind of business, because the financial commitment sometimes is so much, it's so much, and you can be doing it for years, and almost every time you're still struggling. Because business, really, if you don't have money and you ever think, you think of starting any business, I think that you should look at the cash flow, and the best of it, it's not the one that you are waiting that they will pay you every 6 months, every 1 year. For about your work out that they are paying you every 6 months, every 1 year. No, you would want to start a business that is giving you money every day. That's why if you have projects, no matter how big the project is, if somebody has a kiosk and is selling milk, ice water, calipo, those things, and you have 2 million project, 10 million project, and in which you have to inject a lot of capital before they pay you, that person with the kiosk business who is making, says 100 Ghana, 200 Ghana, if it's that person is that much committed, after a while you see that that person will have better business than you, who you are chasing big money, but almost every time you don't have money to buy credit, you don't have money to repair your cars, you don't have money to do a lot of things that you have to do, because the business burns money every day, and yet you are being paid every 6 months, every 1 year, and it's not the best form of business for people who are beginners. And then the next thing that you would want to look at will be your margins. Your margins. How much have you added after every cost? After every cost, how much have you added? That is a major factor. And so you go to town, you buy the milk 2 cedi, and you come and you sell it 2 cedi, you will lose, because you took her to go and buy that milk. And when you came, you put light on in the shop. You put a young girl there to do the work for you, and you will pay that girl. Which means that you cannot go to town to buy that milk 2 cedis and come and sell it in your shop 2 cedis. You would have to add something to it. And businesses that have the leverage of big margins succeed faster, and they have less stress in terms of the money than those whose margins are very much tight. So there are some businesses that people can they produce themselves, or they are intermediate production. So maybe they go somewhere, they bring it, they add something to it. You have no idea how much it costs them to produce that. And sometimes some people are producing it maybe 1 cedi, and they are selling it 300, maybe 30 cedis, 100 Ghana. Such businesses have better leverage to succeed than the one who is going to buy 2 cedi and come to sell it 2 cedi 50 pesos. Because if anybody steals any of your product, your margins are gone. If there is any problem at all, because yes, you put in 100 Ghana, but you get very little. Until you do a lot of volumes, you're going to sweat, and you're going to go through a lot of pain, a lot of struggle, and you'll be wondering why I've done this business for all these years and I have nothing. It may be that your cash flow is good, the cash is coming. As you go, you buy it, you come, they buy it. You go buy the product, you come, they buy it. But the margins are that little. So any small problem, you are in the negative. You would want to consider businesses that the margins are very high. The margins are very high. Those are the ones that if somebody is stealing, you can still have profit. When there's any challenge at all, you can still have some kind of leverage, because your margins are wide. It's not because you want to cheat, but you are producing something that the market needs, and you have found a way of trying to produce it at a very low level. That's why, let's say, people who are in real estate, people who are building houses and they are selling. If you look at the cost of money in our country, let's say somebody is borrowing around 30% or maybe 40% a year, and you want to build this house, 2-bedroom house, and the contractor is saying that he will take 200,000 to build that house for you, and you went to the bank to borrow that 200,000. Let's say if you're able to finish that building in a year, the bank is charging you 30%, 40%. So, with their processing fee and insurance and everything, that 200,000 at the end of the year becomes 300,000 that you have to pay the bank. Now the contractor is going to use that 200,000 to probably produce that house, which is 2 bedroom. So the contractor has not, maybe the contractor is building with very little margin. So that house is costing you 300,000. Now you want to produce that house and sell to people in a year. And so if everything stays as it is, if there was no any increase in material, if there was no increase in labor, and everything was stable within that year, let's say you borrow 200,000 to build that house, and you're going to pay the bank 300,000. Now, how much can you add to that house? You would want to pay the bank, and if you don't sell that house quickly, that money is running like something, so you will be in a dilemma whether to sell that house. Maybe now you have to sell it 300,000 before you can pay the bank in a year. If it goes to 2 years, that money becomes not less than 400,000, even though you borrow 200,000. Now in a year, you just have to find a way to sell it. Now you're building that house in a year and sell it in a year. That is almost impossible. So you give yourself like 2 years before that house can go, which means that you cannot sell that house 400,000. Now you are also going to look for profit. So that house automatically comes to maybe if you're a good person, you would want to sell that house around maybe 500,000, 600,000. Now the challenge is that a house that is you have produced it around 200,000, that because of debt has become 400,000. Which you cannot sell it around 450 or 400. You would also want to say that I work for 2 years, so I want a good margin. So you're looking at 600,000. Now that's 600,000. How many people can cough out 600,000? So after having borrowed this money from the bank in this kind of structure and with the kind of real estate that we have, you can see that most real estate companies are going through a lot of trouble. It's because the cost of construction is high, the cost of financing the project is high, and so you raise the selling price in a stage or to a level that very few people can really afford. So then it becomes trouble. And so it's a place that is not for the innocent. It's not for the beginner. It needs a lot of calculation. It needs proper strategy. It needs a lot of financial understanding, good marketing structure. It needs a lot of things for you to succeed in real estate. That's why you can see a lot of these companies, Ghanaian companies who try to be in real estate, who are finding it difficult, a lot of them are in troubles because the market needs some bit of expertise, some bit of understanding of the buying power of the market that you are producing these houses in. So if now the margin becomes very slim because it's a place where you are going to have big money. There is problem with cash flow, and because you're going to produce the house for 2 years before anybody at all considers to buy. And from now to the 2 years, you're driving there, you're picking calls, you're paying workers, you're doing adverts. It's all costing. So by the time that you produce that house, nobody can buy. And if you don't get anybody to buy that house, you're in trouble. You crash that business in a minute. So there are businesses that you can easily start from your level until you get to a stage where you understand numbers, you understand the market, you understand how to manage the streams, you understand how to manage the people. Then possibly you could enter other areas that you have excess cash, you have some experience, you have some network, you can go and negotiate a loan cheaper than when you are new. So it is not every business that you can easily start. As somebody who is green, who is beginning and succeed that quickly. And so you look at the cash flow. It's very much important because if you are not seeing the cash every day, it will be trouble. That's why if you look at some of the companies or some of the industries that people really find it difficult to succeed, not only in Ghana but even around the world, you can see that project-based businesses go through a lot of stress. Okay, it goes through like construction, engineering projects, things like that. They go through a lot of stress and they easily die out of the market, even though it's an avenue that you can make a lot of money, but it's trouble. And then there are places where the margins, the product that you're selling, the margins on it, very little. those are also trouble for you. If you are selling, you bought it 1 cedi and you are selling it 1 cedi 50 pesos, you don't have a lot of allowance to make mistakes. So if you make mistakes, you're gone. But in businesses where the cash flow is good, the margins are wide, you have double win. The cash flow is good, the margins are wide, you can easily win. The third one that you would want to consider would be the initial capital that is required in that particular business. There are businesses that you need a lot of money to start, because the regulations are high. For instance, if you want to start a mining company, that there are a lot of regulations. By the time that the regulators qualify you, you would have spent a lot of money. EPA, all those things that they do, you are spending. So you would want to enter those kind of businesses when you really understand the game and you really know that you have the right financial backing to go and explore. And it's not for green. If you are green, those are the areas that you easily just bump into. You would want to start areas that you have a lot of allowance to make a lot of mistakes and still be in the game. And so if the initial capital requirement is very high, it's dangerous. The initial capital requirement is very high, it's dangerous. Transport, for instance, is one of those businesses. You put a lot of money, you buy a taxi, you give it to a taxi driver, and he gives you 20 cedis, 30 cedis a day. Now you bought that car 40,000, and this guy is going to drive this car and give you 20 cedis, 30 cedis, 40 cedis every day, and he drives it when he feels it's okay, and when he's mad, he calls you to tell you that he is sick. And then when he has, he makes 200 Ghana a day, he brings you 50 cedis. Then when there is a part which is spoiled, he calls you to say that Masakana say you. It's not a good place to start a business. If you want to start a taxi, I would consider that you drive it yourself than trying to give it to most of these guys, because it's like giving that person that kind of money. If you bought a car 100,000 and gave it to some of these guys, it's more like you have given that person that money. And usually you will not give those kind of people. I'm sorry, you will not give a taxi driver 40,000 to keep for you, or you will not give a truck. You bought a truck, 400,000 Ghana cedis, and you gave it to this guy, and he said that he should do commercial for you. And then he goes 1, 2, 3. He comes to tell you that Master, the brake is gone. I burst the tie. I run into somebody, I crash somebody, there's a problem. So there are a lot of uncontrollables. So you would want to consider. Transport is part of it. Machine, plants, they're part of it. You should really know what you're doing. Other than that, those are not businesses that you start when you agree. Especially if you want to do something and be happy and grow it. It's tough because the capital requirement is high. You want to start a transport company, it's high. Taxi is not cheap. If you don't buy a good one too, they drive it every day, they are at the workshop. And the way we have structured it, at least the driver that you're giving should have some kind of equity in the business so that his heart will be in it. But this guy has nothing involved in that business. He can easily come and give you the key and go and look for another one. I don't think, and that's why there's a lot of stories around taxi, around trotro, around I have a backhoe, there's an operator, or I have a bulldozer, I hire it. No. Keep the money. Do a business that you can control, because the frustration is too much and you don't seem to grow the money. You are more likely to lose that kind of money quickly because you have no predictables. You have no predictables. You are just at their mercy, and they know what to say to you for you to bring money next time, because they told you that Master, the bulldozer, the pump is gone. And they know that is a lie, and they syndicate with the mechanic. They will also be telling you every day. So that bulldozer, the pump is 1,000 Ghana, 220,000 Ghana. And you go and they remove that one, go and polish it, and come and fix it then for you and take the money. People can be that funny on you. So if you're not an expert in those areas, that is not a business that you would want to just consider. Machine hiring, if the initial requirement is that high, you would want to double think what you would have to do in such businesses. Any business that the initial capital is high is not for starters. Okay, you would want to do something to organize the capital yourself, or you will lose it, and you lose it very fast, and you will be left with a mess, and they will be gone. They will be gone in a minute. They'll be gone, and I can tell you that most of them, if they have any advantage, they will cheat you. If your systems are loose, they will cheat you. And which system can you even have? Because they are the ones driving the car anyway. You said you put a tracker on it. Yes, tracker on it. But if they siphon the fuel and sell it, would you see? Would you see? So transport business, construction business, machine renting, taxi, those are businesses that you should consider when you are involved, when you are the driver, when you are the operator yourself. Then maybe it will be something good for you. But you sit in your office somewhere and they say that I'm running those things, you will not grow. So you go and look at the statistics and see how many businesses that started in such areas that are flourishing, that are growing, because the initial capital is huge. The margins, you can control it, the cash flow, we don't even know, because the guy can bring through 2 days, and the third day he comes to take all the 2 days that he brought. So you go 2 steps, you back 3 steps. You go 2 steps, you back 3 steps. That's not a business that you would want to get yourself involved in. And businesses that require a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of regulations, look at them. You would want to have control. You would want to have control with your first business. Okay, so those are, you would want to get into a field that is less technical. Succeed in that. Then when you have built some muscle, when you have built some clouds, then you can go into some of these other, because there are so many areas that we have needs, and you don't just have to get hooked up to that. And this is what I'm passionate about, because the money can easily crash the business if it's not set rightly. And if you meet many people who have done businesses and are still stagnant and not going anywhere, look at the kind of business that they entered. Usually, look at that, and if you put some of these measures, if you consider some of these factors there, you will see that one of these is not properly set out well. That's why they continue to, struggle, suffer, delay, go through a lot of pain, because they did not consider some of these things. So regulations, watch it. If there are a lot of regulations, look at it well. Because every regulation they come, they will threaten you. We will withdraw the licenses. We will do this every day. Somebody is trying to. Some people work in the government institutions. They will use that. They will get more money from your business than you yourself, because they will threaten you that they will close it down, they will shut it down, all kind of things, every day. So look at that. The other thing that you would want to look at is how easily can you grow the sales in that business? How easily can you grow the revenue? Do you have to have a lot of money to grow the revenue, or it can grow by itself with just little involvement, with just little training, with just little infrastructure? Can you look at a business like that, where it's easy for you to replicate, where it's easy for you to open another outlet, where it's easy for you to go anywhere and expand? Do you have that? Or anytime that you're expanding, it becomes that much difficult? If it's that much difficult, it's a business that is for people with a lot of money, not you. You would want to grow and build the masses, because before you enter such areas where it takes a lot of effort. You would also want to consider the structure of our economy, and you would also want to consider the things that you have expertise in. You would also want to consider the things that you're passionate about, the need that you see in the society that you can meet. Look at that, because a mix of that will help you. If the economy is angling, can you see that? Would it affect your business? There are businesses that are so much dependent on the dollar that if the dollar moves a little, they're out of business, especially those who do a lot of importation. They bring cars, they bring everything, they bring fully packaged, fully complete product, and everything they have to change the dollar, the pounds, the euro to go and bring. So anytime that there's a shift in the foreign currency, in the forest, there's trouble. Those kind of businesses, you would want to consider how you can blend it with some kind of local product as well, so that you are not always exposed to just the currency movement. Because 2013 and 2014, when our city was that weak, a lot of companies were wiped out, because everything that they were doing was 100% importation, was 100% on the dollar. So they sent the money to city, they came back, the dollar wiped everything. And you don't want to be in business for years and then just one government policy which shifted the dollar, you will lose everything. That is not something. So you would want to consider how to blend it, so that if the dollar misbehaves, you still have some kind of leverage, some kind of comfort, some kind of control to get your money. In that case, you'll be less stressful, and in that case, you'll be at least be able to predict your business that faster than the others. So my name is Kwabena. Businesses that you would want to consider, in terms of the financial factors, you would want to consider before you, because it's not every vehicle that can take you to where you are going as fast as you want. So even though Tico is a vehicle, if you are going to Tamale from Accra, you would not want to take Tico. You would want to take the bus. Why? Because it can go faster. It's more secure. So the kind of business that you pick, how you understand it, the need for the market, how the cash is coming in, the margins, the initial capital requirement, how you can multiply your sales and grow your business and easily model in other places. They are all factors that as you go along, you would want to consider. Because if you don't consider them, those are the things that will cause you to crash the business, delay it, or give up at all. So some business ideas are not for first-time entrepreneurs. Some business ideas are not for first-timers, because if you don't take care, you can be in it for years and you're still struggling because of the structure of economy. And the business you choose is that much important to the success that you enjoy and how fast you can enjoy that success. So somebody will just go into farming, and somebody will go into retail, somebody will go into construction, somebody will go into mining, somebody will go into education product, somebody will go into health, all kind of businesses. But you should understand how that business is structured and how the money comes in and how you understand that business. So construction and engineering businesses, for me, they are businesses, especially the physical ones, the ones that you have to produce, like building. There are a lot of technicalities involved that you don't just go and take it because somebody has given you a contract. There are a lot of things, unless they are giving you loop up figures, then maybe. But in that case, you are even compromising your values. So you look at the industry that you think that you have some kind of leverage, or you can be in it for years, and you still not be making any progress. You still not be growing. You still not be, you struggle that much, and it doesn't have to be, because the capital involvement is very high. So retail, for you to succeed in retail, for instance, you have to look at either you are producing some of them yourself, or you have to look at businesses that the margins are very high, and you would also want to look at products that you can sell in volumes. You look at those, because if you make any mistake, you can easily go out of business. So if you want to say enter into agriculture, agriculture is that much risky because of the rains that you cannot predict them, and pests and things like that can also become problem. People go into vegetable production, maize, cereal production, things like that, cocoa, cash crop production. But you look at the water part of it, especially if it's vegetable. Do you have consistent water? Do you have the market for it? Because the perishability is also very high. When you produce the tomato, do you have where to preserve it if they are bluffing on you? Or you just say, I'm going to produce it and sell it? And do you have the water? If the water decides not to come, do you have a strategy for it? Because if you're able to mitigate some of these things, then the risk comes down, because nobody can predict how much you have to sell it and how much cost. Agriculture is one of the areas, especially, where you control a lot. The margins can be anything, it can be 1,000 if you know what you're doing. And if you go into processing of a great product, it's the same. You can virtually produce very close to be that much cheap. You look at the industry that you think can yeah, Jay, back again. Thank you. So you should look at the industries that you know that your margins are very wide and the cost of getting the product is that much low, so that if there is any fluctuation, if there is any problem anywhere, you can still control them. But if you're that much close, if your selling price is 2 cedi and your production price is just close to 2 cedi, there's trouble. There's trouble. Some people start businesses in finance, like the way microfinance. Everybody is opening microfinance, for instance. If you study the market well, you should have a model that works. The only reason that you are starting the microfinance should not be because you can loan money to people 7%, 10% a month. In that case, there's no future for your business, because the people that you're doing the business with should be happy. They should also feel like they are working all their lives for you. And the fact is that it's not sustainable. If you give somebody 10,000 and you are taking 10% a month, it means that at the end of the year, that person should be giving you 22,000. And realistically, not many people can turn 10,000 to 22,000. Not many people can turn 10,000 to 22,000. Bema Black, thank you. Always humble with your presentations and lectures. Thank you. So you can turn 10,000 to 22,000. And that's what you, the creditor, wants. But the person must also have a business. So which means that if you give him 10,000 and you're charging him 10% every month, you're saying that the person should be able to turn that 10,000 to 100,000 for him to keep coming back to you, and for him to not even default. And if the person is doing a lot of things rightly, if the person is paying his workers, if the person is spending on fuel, TNT, electricity, eating, rent, having the stock, the merchandise, and paying maybe taxes and SNET and everything else that they have to pay, what you're saying is that it's not possible for that person to pay you that money. It's as simple as that. And that's why the microfinances and those who are giving money on a very high percentage are dying, because it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. There's no future for it until the business people can turn that money, make profit, be happy, and continue to come back for capital, for growth. Those are the facts. Okay, so the fact that you have 50,000 that you can you can give 200 to the marketing woman and go and take and multiply that money quickly. What you don't know is that woman does not sleep. She's always crying within, because the margins are that close. And once you're doing business with somebody who is always not happy, you have no future for your business. You have no future, because anytime that they get any other area, they will not come back to you again. So it's not that, oh no, it's because they need it. And once they need it and I can give it at any cost. No problem. But you also want business. And so you would also want what they call win-win. You want him to keep coming back and be happy, just as you are happy. But you are growing your company at the debt of them. There's no future. And that's why most of these companies will continue to collapse. And if you give money to anybody who is promising to give you 20% a month, the fact is that it's not true. It's a lie. Because you have to money comes out of production. They have to trade with it. So what is it that they are doing that they can multiply that money that quickly like that and give you all this? Those are like DKM and all those guys. Those were scam. It's not sustainable for somebody to keep paying this and keep paying this and keep paying this and still be producing money. It's not like that. In well-structured economy, people are doing 5% a year growth, 6%, 10%, 20% year growth. And we are giving credit to people 10% a month, which means that realistically, they are expecting us to grow 120% to pay them the money back and still have money to continue the business. That, for me, is a magic. And so this is the kind of economy we live in. And if you want to grow your business and be less stressful, you may want to consider some of these things. Consider them because you can stagnate for years if these things continue to beat you. Okay, and these things are what are called, the first one I said that is cash flow. So how does the revenue come into the business? How do you get income? Do they pay you every day, or they pay you weekly, or they pay you monthly, they pay you quarterly? You know, like the way you see your brother or your uncle who says that he's a contractor. So you go and borrow money, go and do the project, and it will take him 2 years to get that money back. That is not a business. That is just a scam. Because a proper business must have revenue. And they must have revenue. The best of it is that they must have revenue every day. That's how sustainable a business is. So if you're not getting the revenue every day and you're getting the revenue every month, maybe that one is even considered. So if you're in construction, for instance, you would want to consider projects that are going to be paying you every 2 weeks, every month. At least that one you have less financial troubles. But if you were naive, as some of us were, you would just want to go and pick all the money from people and go and put it in that business, and they screw you for a year before they pay you. And if you borrow that money, that will be your end. That will be your end. And that's why you can see a lot of contractors, a lot of people who are doing government projects always in one trouble or the other, because they did not consider the cash flow. The cash flow. So the way the cash is coming in is so critical. Your financial knowledge and how financially disciplined you are, the financial understanding that you have, has everything to do with how successful your business will become. So if you don't know them, then you can't apply them at all. But if you know them, maybe you can make mistakes and get back on track. The other one I talked about was the margins. The margins should be that wide. You can go and pick the product 2 cedis and come and sell it 2.1 and think that you will succeed. Unless you sell volumes, you're selling millions, then little margins will make meaning to you. But if you're not selling in volumes, then you would want to do things that the margins are a bit wide, you know, maybe 2 cedi, but you're selling a 4 cedi, something like that. Or some people can go and pick it 0.1 cedi. Okay, that's 1 peso, and then they are selling it maybe 10 cedis. The margins are so wide. That way, no matter what happens, so long as there is selling, his business will grow, because he's virtually selling product at 0 point, you know. So you would want to do that, and consider businesses where you can have a lot of leverage in terms of how much cost the product is, how much you're spending on the production of the product. And that's why they say that semi-production or complete production, you know, you have a lot of leverage, especially if you can control the labor, you can control the energy. That's why manufacturing, people who are manufacturing with less expenditure on energy easily create wealth. That's why Dangote, if you don't know, that's why Dangote is creating a lot of wealth. Why? Because now he's producing at almost zero. Apart from the initial capital investment that he does in his plant and in his setup, after a while, all the products that are coming from his factories are virtually zero, because he's producing them in volumes. So he can accept all the other losses and all the other stealings and inefficiencies in the chain, and he will still make a lot of money, and he expand his businesses. You know why? Because the products are virtually being produced at zero. So the margins are unimaginably wide. And those are the kind of businesses that you would want to look at. I mean, growing, that's the kind of things that I would want to do, where the product that I'm giving, the service that I'm giving, whatever that we are selling or whatever that we are producing, whatever that we are offering our customers should cost us so much later. But then it should be at a price that our customers can keep coming back to us. So you think through the numbers and then look at the business that you structure that can get you this kind of leverage. Then that way you would be a successful businessman. This one is no prayer, I tell you. Just getting the numbers right. You're just getting the numbers right. And if you get the numbers right, you will succeed. But if you entered into a business, construction, they gave you 1 million project, and you went to borrow 600,000, 700,000 to put it in a project, and maybe your markup was 20%, and it took them 3 years to pay you, you're gone, you're wiped out. You would be better. You'll be better off if you use that money to go and sell water or provisions or sand or something that you're seeing the revenue every day. You'll be able to build a good business out of that. So when they talk of the numbers, those are the things that they mean. The other thing is that you should also consider the initial capital requirement for that business. There are some businesses that you are going to buy a lot of plants, a lot of machines. You are going to do a lot of things over a long time before you start to get revenue. Those are not the businesses for you. Especially if you have no expertise, you have no connections, you don't know when. Because the moment you invest the money, you would want to know how quickly the money will start to come back. So that's why people who build hotels, for example, try to struggle, because you have to put the money in and possibly get the hotel open after 2 years, which means that from now to the 2 years, nobody's going to make any payment. And then when you open the hotel, you're going to spend a lot of money in terms of the design of the room, the fridges that you have to put in the hotels. You have to pay a lot of electricity, you have to pay a lot of workers, you have to clean the place. All this you're going to do, and they would have to come from the people who are coming to use the hotel. And you would have invested a lot of money. So if you borrow that money, by the time that the 2 years come, if you borrow 5 million, that 5 million is probably now 8 million. It's trouble. So you would have to have proper understanding to enter such businesses so that you can win. So my name is Kwabena and so look at those. So and some of the businesses that you can easily succeed, I think, will be semi-production companies like fabrications, installations, things that you just have to patch up and offer to the customer. Those things you are not spending that much in its production. For instance, if you are say selling fridges, somebody else manufactured the fridge and you are selling. Now, if you had to go into the complete manufacturing of the fridge before you sell, that's a whole different ballgame. So the expertise that you will need to just pick a fridge from another company and sell, and that which you will need to go into fridge production, is a whole different ballgame. So you should know the kind of industry that is your expertise are there. Then you just get it to the customer easily. I think then after a while, if you are that daring and you would want to go into the production itself, you'll be much more experienced. You have much more allowance to have the money to expand the business. So if you look at our market structure, you see that there are a lot of industries that Ghanaians are still that much struggling, because most of those industries are not for novice. They are for people who understand the numbers and understand the numbers well. There are companies that when they are renting, they are building to rent. They will finish the whole building before they put there for rent. They will finish the whole building before they put there for sale. Whilst there are other people, by the time they sit drawing, they start to look for those who are going to rent, those who they are going to sell to. And they will never even start the construction until maybe they have 50% or 70% of the people that they are going to rent the thing to. If they don't get that, they will not go for the financing. It's a world apart. The other guy is just going for the loan to build it and hope that somebody else will come and rent. So they go and pray that somebody else will come and rent. The another person will never go for the money until he has agreement with people who are ready to rent it. So once he starts to construct it, he has the money there. He's not going to pray for the money. The project is going to cost him 100 million. He has the 100 million plus more. And he will finish within the timeline. So I'm finishing this project in 2 years. It's there. The other guy, the project is costing him 100 million. He only has 10 million. So he starts the foundation, he gets to the window level, and he's stuck. He has nobody to come and rent it. He has no agreement with any off-taker, and his capital is locked forever. And then the sad thing is that he probably might have gone for that money from a creditor. And so the interest on it is going. And the next time you see him, the man is in trouble and is in shit because the numbers, he didn't do it rightly. So such businesses are not for novice. Such projects are for people who have been doing it and been doing it and been doing it. So the numbers are clear. They understand what they're doing. They look at the income. They look at how the revenue is coming in. They look at the margins that they are going to get. They look at how they are financing the project. They look at a lot of factors. That's why they succeed, and that's why they continue to succeed. And that's why the other people who don't look at these things at all and they just start, and they did not start in an area where they didn't need a lot of expertise. Because there are businesses that you can start that you don't need a lot of imaginations and financial expertise and things like that. There are businesses that you can easily grow from there. But there are other businesses that if you don't have the financial expertise, you don't have a lot of things thought out well, you will fail. And when you fail, it's monumental. It's big, and you don't get up that quickly. And in our country, people think that construction is for everybody. It's not. If you're going to build a construction company and build it well, you must get the numbers right. Real estate is like that. You must get the numbers right and get them rightly, or you will not be able to grow it. And sometimes the debt will be on you for years, and that's why you hear a lot of contractors die. They die because the numbers, they didn't think out rightly. They didn't think out rightly. So there are businesses that you can easily start from where you are and succeed faster, because you look at your cash flow. You look at the business must generate money every day if you're going to succeed. And the money that is generating, if you're not selling in big volumes, then you have to look at the margins. The margins should be very wide. So it's not you're picking it 2 cedi and you're selling it 2.5. No. In that case, you're selling a lot in no time if you're going to grow a business. But if you're not going to sell a lot, then you have to know how you can get the product as cheap as possible so that you can widen your margins. In that case, when your girls or the people steal, you still have something to take care of the losses. If the electricity bill goes up, you still have some margins. If the money that you credited, the chance you can pay, you can still have the margins. So if the margins are close, you're gone. You'll be out of business in no time. In no time, though, it's not only you'll be out of business, you'll be in trouble. In trouble, and people would think that you don't know what you're doing. It's not that you don't know. Maybe you don't know what you're doing because the numbers are beating you, and you can be in that business for years and you're still not succeeding. So you should also look at how you're going to make the sales. I talked about that. Can you replicate the sales plan, the marketing plan, the marketing model? Can you just easily replicate them in other areas without a lot of capital injection? Can you easily reproduce that? Can you easily set that another person can go and manage it without you being there, and the income will be that close as if you were there? These are the things that you look at if you want to make the business succeed. If you want to make the business succeed, or you will fail, and it will not be demon, because business is art. Business is science, because math is involved, graph is involved, predictions are involved, controls are involved. So when people say that they are struggling, it's because we did not take a lot of these things into consideration when we started. We were just film. But no matter how it is, it's still better to start at area that you don't need a lot of these things messed up and complex, so that you can breathe, so that the stress will not be so much high on you, so that you can understand what you're doing. And when you have gone through that, then you can look at the complex things. Most of these successful people in Africa, our economy and its structure is different from the others. The others, they are crediting maybe 10%, 15% or something. We are crediting at a very high rate. And then they have credit card. So even if the person does not work, they can come and buy. We will buy with cash. So, there's difference. They have a lot of companies that you can live in a house, they give you mortgage. You have to have the money to go and produce the house and stay in. Big money. So our economy is largely different from theirs. So if you look at what it will take for you to succeed here, the strategy will not be strictly as theirs. So you have to really customize it in the African context for it to work. or you just labor, and it will be in vain, because you may be applying rules and laws that don't have the foundations here. So look at the business idea, because your business idea, how you pitch it, how you establish it, how you run it, will decide whether you will have less stress and succeed faster, or you crash the business and you lose a lot of money, or you see very little progress. Then you go and look for prayers. Go and look for prayers, and the pastors will be praying for you. And it has nothing to do with that. It means that your numbers were not right. Because the foreigners who are here doing big business, this is what they do. The top construction companies, if they want to pick a project from anybody, some of them go as far as looking at the finances of the person who is going to give them the project. Establish that, to know that this man has the money to do the project. And they tell you that if I raise certificate, they will even raise securities against their non-payment. So that if they have the certificate and the other guy is not honoring it, they go to the bank and just get the money so that they can keep working. We are even begging for the project. So how are you going to have the confidence to ask the one who is giving you the project that, do you have money? And when they have even delayed your payment for years, when they are paying you, they're still proud, as if they are doing favor, when they have put your company in trouble. So there's a big difference. That's why they're able to build the companies and build it well. When there's variation, when there's fluctuation, they don't play. They look at the figures, they apply the laws, and they cover what they have to cover. They follow their certificates for payment. You agree with them 2 weeks is 2 weeks. If you fall off, they want to know why you didn't come through. So there are a lot of practices that they have done. They have gone through that. That's why they're able to build successful ones. Okay, no problem. You can meet up again. You can meet up. And so there's a lot that they do that we don't know. That's why they are succeeding, and we continue to struggle because the information is hidden from us. I don't know. Maybe it's hidden from us. I don't know. But there is a lot of facts that they cover from us in terms of the finances. They manage the finances well. The multinationals here, they manage the finances well. At least better than what we are doing. So they have a little, so the cash flow, they don't play with it. They monitor it. But you, myself, when you start a construction company, you know it now. You go and pay bribe to get it. And then when they don't pay you, the time that they are paying you, another accountant is looking for another money somewhere when he has delayed for, those all kind of things. I'm not saying that they don't pay bribe. They do. Some of them do pay bribe, but there is a lot that we have to get rightly and stop blaming everything. Because if you didn't know the kind of business that you were entering into and how some of these things apply, you will cause a lot of damage. You hemorrhage. You will bleed. You'll be in pain for a very long time. And it's not good. So look at the capital, look at the cash flow with your business idea that you have, or even the business that you're doing. You may have to do re-engineering. You may have to sit down, listen, this thing that I've been doing for 5 years, this thing is not going rightly. There is something that I've missed. So I want to sit down and structure it well. If you have to close it, close it. It's better to close a business that is bleeding than to run it and get into more trouble. Because if you are taking yourself down, you may have to stop, at least. Then from where you are, you can start to come up. So there's no need trying to get hooked up to a business that is bleeding and causing a lot of damages. No, stop it. There are other activities in the business that are causing you a lot of trouble. Stop them. Stop them. Don't be afraid, and don't. A lot of people are afraid to shut down their business because people will laugh at them. Never. If you open it and it's not working, shut it. If it's costing you a lot of loans and credit and you have difficulties everywhere, close the business. Take a break. Go and sit down and plan well, than trying to dig yourself down. So there are a lot of times that we have to take hard decisions to say that, listen, we are not going to go to this area for business. We are not going to go here. We are going to stay with what we know and try to become something out of there. And from that decision, we cut a lot of losses. We cut a lot of unnecessary expenditure. And we stay within what we understood. And it's better than going everywhere to beg everybody for business and for projects and things like that. So there are laws that, and there are some things that you have to write down for yourself and get discipline to apply that, than you running a business that is that much slippery. Every little thing you are panicking, every little thing you are in difficulties. No. So it's control it and look at the cash flow, look at the margins, where look at the initial capital. If you're going to start a business that you need so much to start, break it down. If they say you need 100,000, tell them that you want to start with 1,000. So how can you start with 1,000? If you lose the 1,000, you'll be fine. But if you lose the 100,000, that will be trouble. If it's a business that there's a lot of political influence and regulations and bureaucracy, you don't want to start there. If you agree, you don't want to start there, because the more you deal with government institutions, the more you are going to spend money that you didn't have to spend. You would want to start a business that the only time that you deal with government institutions will be maybe taxes or things like that. But if you need a business from them before you can get revenue, you don't want to get a lot of involvement with government people, because every now and then you would have to go and beg, and you're always like a child. You don't need it. The other person who is not dealing with them, no matter how little he is, has more dignity, has more confidence, and can predict growth more than you. And look at how the sales come. The sales will come in. If you're able to control the sales, you have a good business. If you're able to control the sales, you have a good business. So look at your figures, look at your numbers, and don't just jump into any vehicle because you think that you don't have a car. There are some business vehicles that are not for novice. There are some of them that are for people who are astute, who have practiced, who have done a lot of things. That's why when you're going to get, let's say, certificate, classification from the Ministry of Works and Housing, they categorize you. If you have grade 1, there are a lot of equipment that they demand. If you have grade, why? Because they know you have to have some kind of financial understanding, some financial muscles to handle this kind of work. They know that. But if you just know you're a connection man, you just need projects. You're a connection man, you just need something, so you don't care. Then you found yourself in trouble. And you said that there was somebody doing you. Nobody was doing you. It's because you didn't follow the rules of the game. And so my name is Kwabena. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this has been fruitful, and I hope that you can use it and use it well. One of the things that we have to have as Africans is quality knowledge. Quality knowledge. A lot of the world, they have quality knowledge. The Africans are still at the primary stage in terms of productive knowledge that can get at results in business, in life, in everything. Those kind of knowledge that can continue to give us results, so that we can stay a lot out of the superstitions, out of the messy crying, out of the the begging, thinking, and to have the confidence that we have some kind of understanding, some kind of knowledge, some kind of wisdom to produce results at our levels. We need that, because if you're doing business, you must have those kind of mindset. So you understand the cash flow, you understand the margins that you're dealing with, you should understand the capital that is required for this kind of business, and you don't have to put yourself in trouble when the business needs so much capital and you don't have it. You would want to look at the one that the capital is little for you. Then after you have grown the expertise and the confidence, you can then start to consider other areas as well. So and things that you can control, you control them. And so long as you can stay out of a lot of bureaucracy and political influence, you can stay out of them. There's no need to go and beg any government official for business or project. Don't beg them. Focus on the ones that you can do and do them well. The ones that any ordinary citizen can come and buy. Any person at all can come to your shop and buy. You don't need some kind of minister to syndicate and give you a big project. From all the years, people have had big projects, but where are the businesses? Some people had million projects, but today they have nothing. Why? Because they did not go through the process to become what But somebody who stayed with the process and built through can have businesses, can have production companies, can have all kind of businesses, and they will not even need political influence or government official to help them or something like that. So stay with the ones that you know, the ones that you can control, the ones that you can grow out of it, and look for the cash flow, look for the margins, and look for less capital injection, especially if you don't know much about the business. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you.